Well, seeing that Trump wants to get us into World War III, I figured I'd just try a live and we'll see what goes on, huh? So let's take a look at a few of these videos, starting with Trump stating that he bombed in Israel and he's going to say it's not going to get worse, right, huh? Let's see.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me. The world's #1 sponsor of state-sponsored terror. I mean, I can think of a couple more locations that are a little more state-sponsored terror, like, the United States, Israel, things of that nature. Probably Saudi Arabia even more than Iran. So I don't know. It's just crazy.
To the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran...
So I heard something about everything's on the table, Pam Bondi said. There's nothing that's off the table. So right now, that means nukes. Nukes are on the table for Iran at the moment. Trump has been keeping his eye on the Middle East for the past 8-10 years, whatever it's been. It all started in his first term, where he bombed Iran, targeting a top Iranian General Soleimani, I believe his name was. And that was almost the spark. But Iran, like good girls and boys not wanting to get us into World War III, decided, well, I guess we'll let America just be the, ultra superpower terrorist nation that they are, and just kind of let them do this one. But I don't know if this might not be different. I don't know if it's going to be different. It might not be. But, them bombing 3 different sites where they're doing nuclear research is just bonkers to me. It's... What are they going to find there? Trump is the one that pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement. Nobody else did that. That was Trump. Obama was the one that got us into it. And then, a few short years later in 2018, Trump pulled out of it because it said Obama on it. And anything that said Obama on it was meant to get the fuck out of here. We can't have anything that has the last president's name on it, because he was a devil worshipping Democrat, a dang old demon rat. But Trump just wants to do anything he wants. He wants to leave a legacy, right? So Trump could have pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement and then subsequently put us back into the exact same agreement, but just with his name on it. If he just wrote Trump nuclear Iranian agreement, everybody would be like, all right, that's pretty dumb, but whatever, as long as we're still doing this arrangement. Because in that arrangement, the U.S. was able to go into Iran, go through all these facilities, make sure no funny business is happening, because we're the only ones that are allowed to be a superpower in the world. We can't let anybody else have nuclear bombs. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it were up to me, I'd snap my fingers and every nuclear bomb in the world would be just taken care of. Like, we wouldn't have them anymore. We wouldn't have any weapons of mass destruction, in my opinion. But that's not the world we live in. You know, we live in this crazy, chaotic hellscape, the craziest timeline that actually could have been. And this is just where we landed, you know. It's fucking crazy, dude. This is like, now we're going to start World War III. I even seen something about Putin was warning about, you know, the threats, the real threats of World War III that are coming. Let's not forget that Netanyahu has been pushing towards this for the past 30 plus years. So, I mean, it's like, whose pocket are you in, dude?
Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East
Bonkers.
and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long...
There's never been a better team than me and Bibi. We sure are the greatest team that's ever been. I don't know if there's ever been a better team. Peanut butter and jelly, maybe. But, you know, we're even better than that, you know. Better, cooler than the other side of the pillow, really. You know, me and Bibi, we're really making magic happen out here.
Long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are...
So he's basically promising American boots on the ground right there. I don't know if he's promising something even more, maybe nukes. I know it's on the table. You know, they said everything's on the table right now. Fuck, man. I mean, I don't live in the Middle East, you know, clearly, you know, but
many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow...
I mean, that is very true. There's never been a bigger military than the one that the United States of America holds. You know, there's a reason we pay. Trump bumped up the military budget to $1.1 trillion or something like that. I don't know if it's officially went through or not, but it's going to go through. The military budget is the most bipartisan thing in this country, unfortunately. You know, fuck healthcare, right? We're not going to be even putting healthcare to a vote. You know, we're not going to be putting housing to a vote. We're not going to be putting, you know, rehab facilities to a vote. We're going to be putting to a vote the military budget. every single fucking year. And every single fucking year, the military budget gets even higher. You know, it's never going to get lower. Not until we have a president that actually cares about the people. I mean, as most of you know, the military budget is 10 times more than any of the next nations in the world. And I think 6 out of 10 of those are our allies. It might be even higher. I don't know. But it's insane. There's no reason we need 800 plus military bases around the world. We could theoretically pull back all of our military bases and really focus on our country. I would even go as far as to say, if we pulled out from the world and just became our own nation, I would even be fine with Trump's crazy Golden Dome plan, putting like the Iron Dome that Israel has, having a Golden Dome over America. I don't know how well that would work. That seems like a lot of moving parts to me, but it's something. At least we wouldn't be the world police anymore. But that's our economy in a nutshell. We are a war economy.
General Kane, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless.
Trump has such a fucking hard time with the God thing. I mean, do you all remember when it was the Black Lives Matter protests, and he went out and made this big show for us and fucking had the police force clear a fucking path with fucking pepper spray and less than lethal artillery and stuff, just so he could walk across the street and then hold up a Bible like it was a diseased baby, like, here's this, let's take this picture, we got all those black people, it's fine now, no more danger, right? It's crazy, dude. Like, these evangelical Christians, like, do they actually believe that he believes in God? I mean, I personally don't, but freedom of religion. I could tell you right now, is like, if Trump does, he's full of shit. Just like a lot of these evangelical Christians, they use the religion as a veil so they could just be a piece of shit. It's just justification on all their shitty actions.
Bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless Israel. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they love that. The 4 horsemen of the the national crackdown apocalypse. It's fucking crazy, dude. What's this next one? Tucker Carlson. Let's see what this dumb shit has to say.
Popular acclaim. That's not like their viewer surveys. Like, so what is that? That's not by popular acclaim. That's not like their viewer surveys. Like, we need a lot more Mark Levin. Less Jesse Waters, more Mark Levin. Mark Levin! What they're doing is what they always do, which is just turning up the propaganda hose to full blast and just trying to, knock elderly Fox viewers off their feet and make them submit to a new war.
That is, absolutely true what Tucker had to say right there. I mean, they are always they're always doing that. Fox News. I mean, that's their whole shtick. Scare tactics for elderly viewers. It's insane. I don't know. I fucking I enjoy the propaganda that comes out, but I just hate that people are so stupid and they fall for it. It's fun watching, but when they push it nonstop all day, every day, and people actually believe it, it's not like shit that people aren't buying hook, line, and sinker. Fucking Fox News is a real life propaganda machine. I mean, But CNN, MSNBC, I mean, all of those fucking real American voice, you know, it's like, dude, all of these are propaganda, you know. They're all millionaires paid for by billionaires to tell you why you should be scared or pissed off at the transgenders or the gays or, you know, the minorities or, you know, illegal immigrants or whatever. I mean, it's always just a bunch of people telling you why you should be afraid to, you know, put your blinders on so you don't have to see what's actually going on, you know. The real truth is these billionaires are fucking taking us for a ride, and they're winning right now. I mean, they've been winning since fucking Ronald Reagan, you know, brought in trickle down economics, and, you know, I'm still waiting on that shit to start trickling. You know what I'm saying?
And the second thing is, Kristen, I certainly empathize. And the second thing is, Kristen, I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not...
We had dumb presidents back then, guys. I don't know if you know this, but, you know, Trump he's a smarty pants. He really is, you know. I mean, this guy, J.D. Vance, you know, his eyeliner is on fleek. I don't know if you could see it from where you're sitting, but yeah, it's on fleek. It's fucking crazy, dude. The fact that people come out and say, oh, well, we had dumb presidents back then. Now we have smart guys, and we got really smart guys that are in the office. And, you know, as long as you listen to Trump, that's really all that matters. You know, Trump, he got the answers. I don't know if you have any questions, but Trump, he got the answers. You know what I'm saying?
Going to be some long drawn out thing. We've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years, and that is what the president has set out to do.
So why is it that we need to dismantle their nuclear program? Because, you know, quote unquote, they're the biggest state sponsor of terrorism because what? Israel said so. Last time I checked, Israel's the one committing a genocide in the Middle East, and, you know, they're attacking on what, 5 different fronts. You know, they're bombing everybody around them right now. I mean, the only one that they're not going after is Egypt right now. But, you know, I don't know. It's I can't believe this shit, man. Anybody that believes Trump wants best for America is just out of their minds. You know, J.D. Vance, he's goddamn smarmy fucking clown, you know. This is why we can't have nice things.
Simple.
Let's move on to this next one. Bernard Sanders, the GOAT, goated up.
So let's be clear. Israel's attack was specifically designed to sabotage American diplomatic efforts. In fact, in its first round of strikes, Israel assassinated the man overseeing Iran's nuclear negotiating team. And let's also remember that U.S. intelligence has never indicated that Iran has made the decision to build a nuclear weapon. Just a few months ago, Trump's own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, testified to Congress that, quote, the intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, end of quote. But Netanyahu chose to attack, crippling diplomatic efforts and risking a full-blown regional war. He is now openly talking about regime change in Iran and threatening to kill the political leadership of that country without any thought to the chaos that might ensue. Let's also not forget that the current Islamic regime in Iran is itself the product of a Western-backed coup in 1953 that overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran and replaced it with a corrupt autocrat. The critical question now is whether the United States will get dragged into Netanyahu's war. In my view, that would be a disaster. The United States must not be involved with another Netanyahu war, not militarily or financially. The United States Constitution is crystal clear. There can be no offensive use of military force against Iran or any other country without an explicit authorization from Congress. No such authorization exists, and any U.S. involvement would therefore be illegal. The United States has already provided hundreds of billions of dollars to Israel over the last many decades. Last year alone, U.S. taxpayers provided more than $22 billion in military aid to Israel. Meanwhile, while providing massive aid to Israel, we have Americans sleeping out on the street, unable to afford health care or other basic necessities. Enough is enough.
That is 100% facts. I mean, Bernie Sanders spitting facts as per the usual. Oh, man, we have a homeless epidemic, right? But we can't even take care of our own citizens. You know, all of our money gets filtered to endless war, going to Israel, Ukraine, what have you. I mean, Ukraine is one thing, right? The fact that they were the ones that were invaded, you know, understandable. Let's back them a little bit, but you know, it's dragging on now. I mean, how much are we going to back them until they have to start conceding some stuff? I mean, there's no reason we should be putting boots on the ground right there. If anything, Europe should be putting boots on the ground over there because, you know, they're the next door neighbors. But, you know, in the guise of Israel, you know, the October 7th terrorist attack they had. Yeah, dude, that was brutal. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see shit like that happen ever again. You know, I don't want that happening in America. I don't want that happening in Israel. I don't want that happening in Russia. I don't want that happening in Iran. I don't want to see any of that shit happening around the world, you know, but it's just the world we live in, you know. But the sheer fact is we're pumping money into all of these wars and all of these countries that want to commit war, Israel, and we're not even taking care of our own people. You know, we have what, 700,000, 800,000 homeless people in America, and we have more empty houses in America than we do homeless people, but we can't let them live in there because, you know, if you had a place to stay, you wouldn't be afraid, and, you know, you wouldn't have that fear in your head, so you have to go to work. You know, it's all just a ploy, so, you know, we stay good little worker bees and all that shit. But Bernie Sanders, correct as always. I mean, he's the goddamn GOAT.
Details about Operation Midnight Hammer from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, here with me at the Magic Wall to break this all down and about what we know is retired Colonel Cedric Layton. Colonel, thank you so much for being here. Take us through this mission, because it had been in the planning for quite some time.
It really has, Manu, and this is the graphic that the DoD provided us with this. So they've been planning this in some ways for over a year, and in other ways they've been doing exercises that kind of did the same thing for up to 2 or more years.
Oh, wow.
But the key thing is this: the actual operational planning really started a few weeks ago once the direction came from the president to do this kind of thing. So when they left Whiteman Air Force Base, they did it basically right after midnight on the 21st of June, and then they came through and struck the targets in Iran about 18 hours later, 18 hours and 19 hours later, and they hit the 3 sites that we've been talking about before. These are the ones that, of course, have become famous now: Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. And these are the ones that, of course, not only because they've been in the news, but because of what they had, became important from an operational perspective to actually eliminate. And that's why they had the kind of payload that they did on the B-2.
And there's been a lot.
Yeah, dude, this is crazy. you know, hit these 3 major targets. And remember, there are 90 plus million people that live in Iran right now. So everybody, all the civilians, whatever, I mean, cool. America feels like, or Israel feels like overthrowing that government, whatever. I mean, but there's a lot of innocent civilians over there, man. I mean, they're gonna drop a bomb right about there, and it's gonna cause some major havoc. You know, they're already talking about Iran is shutting down this major pipeline that's about right here into the UAE, and it's something like 20% of the world's fuel goes through there. So we're gonna have a big spike in fuel prices here pretty soon. And, you know, of course, we have Qatar. I wonder what big role they had to play in that, you know, given that $400 million jet to Trump, you know. That's definitely has something to do with it, I'm sure. But we'll never hear about that shit, will we?
A lot of discussion about the Fordo facility in particular, and the Pentagon says they've obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, but Fordo in particular, how hard is that to penetrate?
So take a look at this right here, Manu. When you see the security perimeter right here, and then in just a second we'll get some more details here because you've got the support building and tunnel entrances. This is way deep underground, almost 300 feet underground. So when you look at the layout of this, you've got those tunnel entrances that I talked about, that support building, and this mountain covers the centrifuges. The centrifuges are the key part to them doing what they need to do to, in essence, enhance the uranium to get it to the level that they need. So when you look at what this looked like before June 20th, this is what the fuel enrichment facility looked like from a satellite view. Now take a look at what happened here. Every single thing that you see here has been actually changed a bit. This is what the fuel enrichment facility looked like from a satellite view. Now take a look at what happened here. Every single thing.
Dude, they fucking wiped it out. I haven't heard anything on like how many people died in this incident. Like I hope these people got evacuated, but goddamn, dude, they fucking wiped this place off the face of the goddamn earth. What is going on?
Thing that you see here has been actually changed a bit. When you look at this, the June 20th slide, take a look at the facilities up here and over here. Now look, this is gone.
Wow.
This right here is also gone. So these are the kinds of things that happen. And another thing that's really interesting about this, take a look. This is that support building that we showed earlier. Everything looks intact. These are the tunnel entrances. Now let's take a look. When you go over here, you see that these tunnel entrances have been damaged beyond repair. There's what appears to be smoke damage right here at the support building. And then when you look here, see these things right in this area right here. These are penetration holes right where the bombs hit. And when you look at, there's actually a further one when you go this way, right up in this area, right here, which shows that there are very key, precise impacts that they struck. And the idea here was to get at the centrifuges and use it with multiple bombs so that they could go down deep enough to eliminate the possibility of them even enriching the uranium.
And we'll see if they've done that. The Pentagon says this thorough evaluation is still ongoing. And meantime, there's this concern, real concern about retaliation from the Iranians against U.S. assets in the region.
Yeah, dude. I would be surprised if there's no retaliation, but if there's no retaliation, this is 100% because Iranian supreme leader is being very cautious, because it doesn't take a genius to know that this is like the edge of World War III right here. You know, I mean, I don't know who the main supporters of Iran are. I bet you they have some ties with China. You know, they probably got some Belt and Road Initiative shit out there. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Our administration is fucking insane right now. You know, just even doing something this crazy. It's like, you know, when Trump came into office, I was like, all right, it's going to be same as last time. It's going to be pretty stupid, but we're not going to have much crazy shit going on. Yeah, I mean, he's going to do what he wants. He's going to pass some giant tax bill for the rich, and they're going to get richer. That's a Republican administration 101 right there. There's no such thing as a Republican administration that doesn't pass a giant tax cut bill to their rich friends. That's step one. There's definitely going to be a military budget increase. Step two, and you could probably sprinkle in some, you know, corruption or whatever. Okay, cool. We made it through. I thought this one was going to be the same, but it's like every week there's something new with this administration, and we're not even at 200 days yet. You know, we're at like 150, 160 or something like that, I think, and we're already on the edge of World War III. You know, we still got 3.5 years of this shit if if he doesn't get impeached, you know. And something like this, I feel like this is an impeachable offense. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, he can't just drop bombs willy-nilly like that using the military in that fashion. You know, they have to get a learn how to speak today. Don't mind me. They got a declaration of war through Congress. So, you know, if nothing else, he should be impeached for something like this. But there's a list of millions of things that he should be impeached for. But, you know, that ain't going to happen. You know, welcome to America, I guess.
There are a lot of them. Tons, thousands of troops as well.
Yeah, basically 40,000 troops throughout the Middle East, Manu, and especially concentrated in the Persian Gulf region. And what's across the Persian Gulf? Iran itself. So that means that it's within missile ranges of not only the long-range missiles, obviously, but short-range missiles as well, that the Iranians could easily lob into the areas such as the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. So those are the kinds of things that our forces have to worry about from a force protection standpoint. But each one of these areas really makes it very clear that every single one of our troops is definitely within.
I wonder where they're going to aim
those are the
their
kinds
missiles. Yeah. Let me think. Are they going to go this way? Probably not. They're going to go UAE, Qatar? No. They're going to go this way, guys. They're going to go towards Israel. You know, we damn well know that. You know, they already had a retaliatory strike after Israel's, what was it? What did they call it? A preventative defensive strike that where Israel struck Iran. Iran, of course, you know, deflected it and spent millions and millions of American taxpayer dollars with the Iron Dome to protect them. We have all seen the videos and stuff. I mean, it's crazy that they think we don't know which way these bombs are going. Like, dude, you don't need to do all this. You don't need to go up into Europe and shit. Just stretch it out and just give us the points over here. Just tell us how close to Israel they're going to get, and we'll just say, okay, yeah, we know what's going on.
Things that our forces have to worry about from a force protection standpoint, but each one of these areas really makes it very clear that every single one of our troops is definitely within range, but that doesn't mean that they can't defend themselves. They will be able to defend themselves if the proper measures are taken and if we have the right intelligence when it comes to Iranian intentions.
Yeah, that's everything that the U.S. is watching for right now, that next step that the Iranians may take. Colonel Layton, thank you so much for breaking this all down for us.
You bet, Manu.
Wolf, back to you.
All right, Manu, I'm joined now by CNN national security analyst Beth Center. Beth, thanks so much for joining us. What kind of intelligence gathering is happening right now to ensure that the Pentagon's original assessment that had been made public, that these Iranian assets were obliterated, is actually accurate?
Right. So there are going to be multiple different kinds of sensors and overhead imagery.
This guy's a fucking absolute monster. He's like, what are we gonna? How are we gonna make sure this place has actually been destroyed? Like we got to know, like, is it just like a little bit of dirt on top, or is these things like completely and utterly annihilated? You know, look at his face. He doesn't give a fuck about human life.
As well as trying to maybe listen in on what people are saying. The Israelis have a human network of spies. So all of these things will come together in the intelligence community. We call it all source intelligence. We're taking things in from everywhere we can to put together a picture of what happened inside that hall. But in addition to that, everybody, at least all of us on the outside, are asking the question, where is all of Iran's highly enriched uranium and their centrifuges? Can we say that with these 3 sites hit, that there aren't other, that HEU, enriched uranium, and the centrifuges haven't been secreted away to covert facilities that I would say we would be crazy to think they didn't have, to use a double negative.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, you know, we would know where all of their material was, and we would know where these secret facilities were if we were still in the Iranian nuclear agreement. But Trump can't have anything that says Obama on it, right? Can't have Affordable Care Act because that's Obamacare, right? Even though it was a Heritage Foundation think tank project that Obama passed instead of, you know, passing Medicare for all through a supermajority that he held. You know, let's not talk about that. We're just going to do an American Affordable Care Act, you know, but that wasn't enough for Trump. We had to fucking pull out of anything that said Obama on it. This was one of Obama's best things that he's done in office, was to get us in the Iranian nuclear agreement, which Iran was following to a goddamn T, mind you. And they weren't doing anything wrong, apparently. You know, but we had the IAEA, you know, the International, International Energy Enforcement something administrative. I don't know. It was for international nuclear research and whatever. They've been going into Iran, and they've been looking at it and making sure everything was good, and it was, you know, according to them, Iran was doing everything right. So why the big change? You know, we would know if Trump put his back in. He could have wrote his name on it. Trump's big, beautiful nuclear Iranian terrorist watch propaganda peace bill. This is where we go in and we make sure they're not doing any funny business, okay? Because funny business is not so funny unless it's me doing it.
The U.S., as you know, Beth, is now in a heightened state of alert in the region for possible retaliation. How is the U.S. intelligence community now monitoring any potential Iranian-related threats?
Well, a couple of different ways. Again, looking at all the groups that are very well known, that have been tracked over many years because they have attacked U.S. troops throughout the region for, a long time. And we are also, I'm sure, working with our liaison partners in these countries. For example, the Iraqis have been fantastic partners. They don't like to talk about it, of course, and we don't either. But, obviously you need to work with the governments to help ensure that U.S. troops are not attacked. And we will be holding some of these countries accountable as well for doing what they can to keep the lid on these militia groups in their countries. So we will be working with our partners and then also independently to be tracking all of this.
Still a very, very dangerous situation indeed. All right, Beth Sanner, thanks so much for joining us. Federal officials are warning about the potential retaliation from Iran in the wake of the U.S. attack on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. This morning, Iran's foreign minister warned that they have to respond and the U.S., quote, crossed a very big red line, end quote. Joining us now, CNN's Homeland Security.
God damn it. So they're saying they have to respond. You know, yeah, we crossed a fucking line, dude. You know, I mean, there's no way we can spin this and say we were the good guys. You know, it goes back to the old meme, the whitest kids you know, where they're acting like they're Nazis, and you know, one of them says, "Are we the baddies?" Yeah, dude, we're the baddies. You know, we are the fucking world terrorist group. You know, we cause mayhem throughout the fucking world as America. You know, the American government. You know, the people. You know, most of us are fine, but you know, there's always the cult members that, you know, love to run cover for Trump. Anything that he does, you know, he does nothing wrong. Nothing wrong ever.
Security analyst Juliet Kayyem. Juliet, thanks so much for joining us. What do you think? What are Homeland Security officials doing right now under this heightened alert? How concerned are they?
They are concerned. We are hearing that there's going to be more focus on the domestic intelligence side of potential Iranian sleeper cells. We don't know to what extent they are formed and ready to activate, but it is something worth watching. We've talked a lot about the denigration of Iran's capabilities to launch major attacks in the United States, what happened to Hezbollah and Syria. But nonetheless, it's that those capabilities have not been eliminated. Focus on the potential Homeland Security threat, different than a threat against U.S. interests abroad, and that will include internal investigations as well as, of course, a focus on border crossings.
President Trump's former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo.
Of course, they got to bring border crossings into the goddamn mix. You know, these goddamn immigrants are destroying our motherfucking country. You know, why can't they just, you know, sit back and say, well, Trump is a piece of shit. He shouldn't be doing this. This is putting a lot of our soldiers at risk. And, you know, Trump doesn't care. He's in a goddamn bunker somewhere right now. I fucking guarantee you that. You know, if he's not in a bunker, he has, you know, triple security detail right now playing golf, you know, and nobody's allowed within a fucking 3-mile radius around him.
Pompeo is warning that the attack could have Iran activate what are called sleeper cells. Is that the biggest concern for potential retaliation from Iran?
I think it's the biggest Homeland Security concern, but I don't think it's the most likely scenario. From Iran's perspective, going after U.S. interests abroad is going to be easier. We have lots of troops there. We have lots of U.S. interest abroad, including in the Straits of Hormuz. So it's going to be easier for them to launch attacks. But we would be silly and naive to think that Iran had not thought through day 2 planning. They knew that this was coming either from Israel or us. And so those sleeper cells, which may have been followed for some time, they may have gone dark. That is the kind of thing that a very aggressive FBI is going to have to look after now. And a Homeland Security Department, which has been really focused on ICE enforcement, is going to have to shift gears and focus on both cyber potential attacks or, of course, physical attacks here. Whether they have the capacity or the manpower now, we don't know. But that if they're looking to the concerns here in the homeland, that's what they're going to need to do at the Department of Homeland Security.
In my opinion, physical attacks, you know, that's kind of a stretch, you know. I would be more worried about cyber attacks and physical attacks outside of the United States. Maybe looking at some of our bases around in that area. We got a bunch of them, remember? Yeah, I don't know. But let's take a look at this one more video, and then I'm gonna get rolling. This was from a few days ago. I thought this was pretty funny. Senator Dick Durbin brought a montage to a Senate hearing that I believe it was Chuck Grassley was putting on, and it was to do with Joe Biden's mental decline. Like, dude, he's out of office. Who cares? Fucking drop it already. Like, dude, he's gone. You guys won. You fucking got Trump in office. You got the God King Fuhrer Trump in there again. Like, you guys won. So I don't know why you're doing congressional hearings on Joe Biden's cognitive decline. What, are you gonna reverse impeach him? Are you gonna sentence him to death for having mental decline? Like, I don't like Joe Biden either, but fucking he's here. We also got Trump. He's cognitive declining as well, but we don't hear any Republican bringing up impeachment. This is fucking stupid. So let's take a look at that.
United States as president?
I don't know.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously.
Obviously, the whales are getting driven crazy. They're going bananas mode in the ocean, just like, dude, all this wind power, this is bullshit. Like, we got waves right here, bro. Why do we need waves? Doesn't even make sense to me. We should be doing everything with our tails because we're beefcakes, all right? We're the biggest things on this planet, I think. I can't really tell because everything's so far away, and all those little things on the beaches walking around, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But fucking stupid, dude.
I have concepts of a plan. They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the. I know about.
Dude, that was the moment that won him the debate. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the geese. They're eating the rats. I don't know why I just rhymed right there, but that was pretty cool. If you all remember correctly, that was from, the propaganda piece of the Haitian immigrants eating dogs and cats. They're eating all our pets over there. That's why we should be bigoted and not let them in. They're here illegally, which was bullshit because they were here legally. They were given temporary protected status through their through leaving bad situations in their country, right? But eating the dogs and cats was more important because it was funnier, right? That was one of the things that was the red meat to the base at the time, eating the dogs and cats.
The I know about magnets is this. Give me a glass of water. Let me drop it on the magnets. That's the end of the magnet. The kid.
Oh, dude, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Can we get Bill Nye in the chat and have him tell us how magnets work? Could you tell me if it works with water? Like, do you dump it on water and it just doesn't work anymore? I don't think that's how that works, is it? Oh, dude, that's awesome. God damn it.
Kidney has a very special place in the heart. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? 'Cause this is.
Can we inject the bleach? Is there any bleach in the building that we may be able to inject into our veins in order to not have COVID anymore? He was also in that situation. He was also floating the idea of like putting ultraviolet light in there to make it where it kills the bacteria of COVID in the body.
It's a tough hurricane. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
The wettest water we have ever seen. There's never been any wetter water. We haven't seen any water wetter than this water in this hurricane that is wet.
You ran out the healthy arms. You ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular. Can't understand a word he's saying. Did you just see Maduro, Venezuela? It's unbelievable.
I can't talk shit, dude. Trump just trips over his words a little bit. You know, I'd be doing the same shit. You know, he said Venezuela, like that shouldn't be in the clip, dude. Like, I don't know how to talk to. You know, I don't know how to talk to.
Well, I don't know about it. I mean, obviously, I'm not involved.
He wants to know why the proclamation was signed in the dark.
I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it.
Do any of these statements raise a question of cognitive ability? You be the judge.
Yeah, I guess from what I understand, Dick Durbin said that. You be the judge. And then he got up and walked out. Like, you're wasting all of our time. We shouldn't be doing this right now. And you could see in there that the seats are pretty empty, you know. I don't know. Let's watch this video of Netanyahu over the years. Always screaming for war with Iran.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Dude, Netanyahu's a goddamn monster. You know, it's like 30 plus years he's been going after Israel, or not Israel, sorry. 30 plus years he's been going after Iran, and, you know, he finally got his wish, dude. He finally got his wish of America putting boots on the ground in Iran.
At all? No, I don't know the population. How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. Yeah, how could you not know that? I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's... Well, because...
See, right here, this is a prime example of the difference between the right and the left, okay? See, me being on the left, I can agree with Tucker Carlson, you know? And, I don't like to agree with Tucker Carlson because most of the time he's a goddamn insidious bigot that just wants the worst for the world, you know? He wants a white nationalist country. You know, that's what he wants. But at least he knows, like, we shouldn't be invading Iran, however the language works. I can't even speak English right now. I mean, the difference between the right and the left is I can agree with Tucker Carlson on this. But, you know, if for some reason, you know, AOC came out here today and was like, you know what, billionaires are right. You know, we need to start paying more taxes, and they need to start paying less taxes because trickle down economics is based. You know, all of a sudden these fucking right wing nut jobs would be becoming leftists because they're, you know, we can't be on the same side as her. You know, she needs to stay over there. You know, what's next? She's going to agree with us to build a wall. Whatever happened to that wall that Trump wanted to build? You know, they decided that was a bad idea, like everybody was telling them. And, you know, now all of a sudden, you know, they're like, well, instead of building a wall, we're just going to funnel money into, you know, Homeland Security, give it all to ICE. And, you know, we're just going to harass American citizens, you know.
90 million or 80 million or 100 million. Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about the country. What's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even. You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one
you
who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea.
You're the one claiming they're not trying to kill Donald Trump. See, that's just a goddamn cop-out ploy, you know, from when those Trump assassination attempts were happening. And it's fucking despicable, you know. Anything to put a front up to, you know, invade another country, Ted Cruz is all right with, you know.
To kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe
we're
that,
carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not
at all.
bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
100% true. I mean, fucking Ted Cruz, he's just a smarmy piece of shit. You know, he wants to watch the world burn. As long as Israel keeps funneling money into his campaign, that's all he cares about. He's one of the biggest recipients of I don't even know how to speak, man. Recipients of money from the Israel lobby. I think he's gotten somewhere 1 point something, damn near 2 million he's gotten from the Israel lobby. So, you know, anything that Ted Cruz says is clearly going to be pro-Israel, you know, and that's, you know, 95% of our government, you know, they're all paid by the Israel lobby because from what I understand is they all have their own lobbyists in you know, the Senate and the House. So Israel has something like, you know, 400 plus lobbyists working for them, funneling money into our government in order to keep it moving. You know, this is why we can't have nice things in our country, because all the nice things go to the other countries. And I just wanted to show one more thing from the No Kings protest. And there is a second No Kings protest coming up soon. But I thought this was pretty crazy.
Keep America, Trump, for king. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Let's listen to their bullshit. See what these fucking clowns are saying.
You guys just look foolish with this thing, man. You do, yeah.
Why is there a No Kings rally tomorrow? Why? Why is there a No Kings rally?
What the fuck?
These fucking jokers, dude. They think they look badass too with this giant ass flag. Trump is our king. You don't even know, you know. Oh man, where do you even get a fucking flag that big, dude? Like, what is the point of doing this? Like, do you love to scream 1776 and fucking all this bullshit, and yet you hold up a flag saying we have a king? Dude, the reason we separated from England is because we didn't want kings, and we wanted to be a secular nation because the church was overreaching and blah, 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 whatever. But they just think they look so fucking cool.
What the fuck?
Dude, I feel bad for you guys.
Find me the 81 million votes 4 years ago. Why is there 1,500 No Kings rallies?
You can't vote for kings.
Like this? Well, yeah, this kind of working. Oh my God. This flag is for white liberals.
This flag is for white liberals.
White liberals are the worst. Worst. Worst human beings. Scum of the earth.
For what reason?
Because you're so low IQ.
Really?
So, dude, you're just so low IQ. You don't even know, dude. I mean, people that bring up the IQ thing is just insane to me. I mean, dude, just do you, all right? You don't need to bring up IQ and all that shit. You know, I wouldn't say I have a genius level IQ, but I'm also not going to be bringing it up all the time. Especially, it's like, dude, you're in a cult. Like, how high do you think your IQ really is? I mean, fucking what? You get an A+ on your IQ, you hit a fucking 98. Good job, dude.
Back to normal.
Having a king in America is normal.
The 1776 ring a bell?
Just move back to England, man. I don't know what the fuck this is all about.
Yeah, go back.
Yeah,
Go back.
How many times did Trump win? Trump won trifecta. Only guy that's won 3 elections. Love this guy. 210 million votes in the last 3 consecutive elections. Look at this guy. An American hero. He's the face and voice of real America.
Oh, man. This guy, he's the only one that's won 3 fucking times. Like, dude, you're talking about IQ. You don't even know the history of America. We've literally had presidents win 4 consecutive times in a row. Like, first off, you don't even know that, apparently. But yeah, dude, it's insane. Like, these cult members are just out here. Like, they are among us. You know, I work in construction and I see them all the time. It's crazy. Anyways, I need to get rolling, everybody. For those who watched, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you a little later. I'll try to stream tomorrow if I have time. So, like the video if you like the video. Subscribe would really help the channel grow. I'd love to see some of you come over to my regular long form videos. They're only about, 5 to 10 minutes long. And watch my shorts. Really appreciate it. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Later.